welcome to the podcast. It's a new day, a new week, and a new episode of the Business Beauty Network podcast. Welcome, welcome. Happy Monday. I'm super excited to bring today's episode to you. Before we get into the episode, make sure that you are subscribed to the podcast wherever you're listening. You don't want to miss an upload, so subscribe to the podcast. And if you are watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe on YouTube as well. Subscribe at Biz Beauty Network, and on the podcast on Apple, Spotify, Anchor, wherever you're listening. Make sure that you leave us a review. Sharing is caring as well. So if you know someone in the beauty industry who this podcast would add value to, share the podcast and let us know that how you're liking it. You can follow me on Instagram at I am Brandy Taylor. I'm looking forward to connecting with you there. And you can also follow the podcast Business Beauty Network, Biz Beauty Network on all social media outlets. But I am super excited about today's podcast. I had a phenomenal interview with Janice Frederick Spell of the Retail Genius. She has a wealth of knowledge on the beauty supply industry. As you know, this is a dominated industry, and it can be harder for some other people to get into it, but Janice has all the secrets, all of the tips on how to build a successful beauty supply business. And we really had a great conversation learning more about her and all of the great awesome things that she's doing within her business. So here is a little bit of her bio. Janice Frederick Spell is a natural born hustler from New York City. At the young age of 24, Janice cashed in her retirement accounts and forged ahead with the dream of opening Fabulous Freddy's, a beauty supply boutique in her hometown. Her first store opened in 2010, and she went on to open her second location in 2012, and she launched her website shortly after that, fabulousfreddy's.com, and she's doing phenomenal things. In 2018, she came up with a great idea to help other people do exactly what she had done through her success in the beauty supply industry, and she launched the Retail Genius. The website is an outcome of her great mind and thought of enabling entrepreneurs to navigate the retail industry in a most convenient manner. With years of experience, she gained a good amount of knowledge and in retailing and beauty supply industry that can help indulge in providing consulting services, webinars, and products to potential clients. And she shares so many gems, guys. She's a wealth of knowledge when it comes to this industry. So if you're thinking about opening your own beauty supply, if you ever thought about anything like that, I think this is going to be a great one for you. And make sure that you are subscribed and you share this website, share the episode with anyone you think that it will add value to. Let me know like how you're loving it. Let me know what you're thinking and everything about it. And make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and share that as well. But I think you're really going to enjoy this awesome interview. I'm glad to have Janice on the final episode of the month for Black History Month. I just encourage you to pursue your dreams and just believe in yourself, and remember that you will only lose if you quit. But here is today's episode, and here it goes. Hey, welcome to the podcast. It's your host, Brandy Taylor. We have an awesome guest today, Janice Frederick Spell. Welcome, Janice.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited to have you here. So, Janice, tell us something about yourself that most people would not know.
Fun fact, I guess, before I started in beauty, entrepreneurship, all that stuff, I was a police officer for the NYPD here in New York City. Yes. It was short-lived, but I was a police cadet throughout my entire college career, and then graduated and became a police officer, and then was like, okay, let me switch. But yeah, no one knows that. No one knows that about me.
Interesting.
I come from a family of law enforcement, so it just seemed like the right thing to do. But yeah, totally pivoted from that.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. So you saw quickly on that wasn't the path for you, huh?
Yeah. So like literally while I was in the police academy, I got a call for another job to work for the U.S. Treasury Department, which is what I went to school for. Like when I graduated, it was the peak of the mortgage crisis. So if you remember that, there was like no jobs, there was nothing going on. So it's like, let me just do something that seems stable, something that I was already doing for like 4 years already with being a police cadet. I worked in my community precinct. So, I had the support there already. But then I got the call to work for the U.S. Treasury Department because I studied finance. I went to business school, studied finance. So you can imagine if you go to business school, you're studying finance, and then there's no finance jobs, what do you do? But thank God I got that call. And then I signed up with the U.S. Treasury Department as a bank examiner.
Cool. When I was in high school, I don't know if they have this program where you're from, but we had like vocational school. They call it VOTEC. And you could take a trade outside of school. So many people would take like cosmetology and things like that. And in fact, back then, that's what I thought I wanted to do. But the cosmetology program was full, right? So I took law enforcement. And yes, and like they sent us through like the mini police academy type thing.
Yes.
And all that, all that stuff. And I remember we had to like frisk somebody. So there was a cop to come in and demonstrate, like have her how you kick her legs open and and how you hold.
Wow, they taught you all that, huh?
Yes. And when he started kicking the person's legs open and trying to demonstrate on his partner what we were supposed to do when we arrest someone, I said, yeah, I would never be a cop. Like this is not it. This can't be it. But honestly, I just took the class because cosmetology was full and I wanted to get away from school for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Yes. So, but that's an interesting fun fact. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
And so tell us your beauty story. Like, how did you get into the industry? Have you always wanted to like have your own beauty supply, or was there something that made you want to get into this industry?
Yes. So my journey started, like I mentioned before, I was working for the U.S. Treasury Department as a bank examiner during the mortgage crisis. So that job it was high intense, high pressure, a lot of anxiety with being a bank examiner, going to all these different banks and shutting them down for the mortgage crisis. And I just knew like I had to pivot. So I was thinking about grad school. And then I was also thinking about entrepreneurship. And one day I was sitting in a beauty supply store after I done spent like $200-300. And I just sat there and I watched the transactions just go, and women just was spending money was coming through, and they're spending $200-300 at the beauty supply store. But at the end of the transaction, it was a lackluster experience. And that's exactly how I felt every time I went to a beauty supply store. I was always so excited. So I was one of those girls who went to a beauty supply store probably every single paycheck and would spend a good amount of money just on beauty products because it was exciting to me. It was just like self-care for me. And, so you're excited going to the store, but then when you leave, it's like the experience was like blah, and it was just like, I sat there and I saw the money being transacted from all of these beautiful Black women. And then I saw who was taking the money and their attitude. And I was just like, there has to be a way for me to get in this industry, because obviously we all know that the industry is dominated. But I started researching. I went to like my local SBA. I talked to them about the idea because I was still thinking about grad school, and grad school was going to be another 6-figure investment because I went to private school. And I said, you know what, if I'm going to take this money, I think I'm going to invest in myself. Right. I want to bet on myself with this venture because I think I could do well. And then that's how it started. So I just started doing my research. This was back in 2010. So there was like no like Facebook groups or anything like that for me to like plug into. I just had to like go on Google, try to find beauty supply store owners, which I did. I traveled to them, met them in person, told them my ideas. And by the grace of God, they were all very friendly with me and helped me on my journey. That's where I met my first mentor, who was a beauty supply store owner for 3 years out in Jamaica, Queens, New York. And he literally, helped me through the entire process, held my hand, took me to different distributors, and that's how I got my start. And I opened literally 2 months after I had the idea. I opened 2 months after, in September 2010. Yep.
Wow, 2 months after you had this idea. That's interesting. So you hit the ground running.
I hit the ground running. I was every single day. I was like either in the SBA office, talking to one of their reps, and I was, going to beauty supply stores, just talking to different owners, just telling them my idea. I saw the space. My sister and I, we were driving around. We found the space. We were like, this is it. And so it was very, very fast. I did a PowerPoint presentation for my family to get some funding together. Because I'm a business major, so I know how to put a presentation together. I know what the speaking point should be. I know what the numbers should be, which was a good thing. I was able to use my business education. And so, was able to get some funding from my family. I used my 401k from my treasury job as well. And I just kind of put all that money together and opened my store.
Well, you answered the second question, because I was going to ask you, like, how did you fund it? So I love this. So tell me about it. So you put together a presentation for your family. Now, I don't hear this often, so I want you to share this a little bit. So you put something together, like, and got your family together and showed them your ideas. And they must have invested in you. So tell us, like,
right.
What that process was like.
So this was like before crowdfunding, right? So like, again, this is like over 12 years ago, where everything was like, I talked about my journey. I talk about like going out to stores and talking to people in person. Well, now you can go on Facebook, you can DM people. It's so easier. And it's like crowdfunding. You can, create a video, put it up, and just send people the link. I had to create a PowerPoint presentation where I explained my entire vision. I explained the numbers. I explained, the investment. And it was like, do you want to join this legacy? Do you want to come with me on this journey? Like, I just painted this beautiful picture for my family, and they were so excited. They were so excited to support me in this journey. So, I think, it's so important for us to like share our vision with our friends and family. Like, a lot of times, like, we're shy and we're quiet and, we're just nervous, all these things. And we don't want to seem like a failure if we, say, I want to do this, and then you don't follow through, or you try it and you fail, like all of these things. But I just went for it. I talked to everyone who would talk to me. I share my vision with everybody, because you never know who wants to help you, right? You never know who's willing to help. I talk to people about it, and they're like, oh, I'm a graphic designer. I can help you with flyers. Oh, I'm this. I can help you with this. So I'm a person of like, listen, I talk about what I want to do, because, no one's going to steal an idea. No one's going to make me feel insecure about what I'm doing. I'm going to go for it.
So now you've had this investment, and you're ready to open. Like, what was the process like getting your, did you get a storefront?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
So, my sister and I, we were driving around the neighborhood. So one thing I knew for sure is I wanted to open a store in my community where I was born and raised. I'm a third generation here in Queens, New York. So I definitely wanted to open a store in the community because there was a need. So we drove around, we found the location on a busy street. We reached out to the realtor, who was a family friend. We spoke to him, met with him. We were dressed up in suits and everything. We were like, we're gonna come correct. And then he was like, yeah, I'll rent to you. And so that was like my first investment. Had to pay security. These are things I'd never even done before, like first month security, all this stuff. I was like, okay, the money started adding up. And then I met my mentor. He took me around to the distributor. So here in New York City, we're blessed. We have a lot of distributors here. So I didn't really have to, try to outsource a lot of things. We were able to drive to a lot of distributors. So I was able to get inventory. He also sold me a lot of inventory. He took me to places where to get shelving. So, having a mentor was such a blessing, right? Because he just literally showed me everything. He showed me where he got his shelving, inventory, things of that nature, cash register. Again, I didn't have a POS system, but I do teach now that you must have a POS system, right? Don't make the same mistakes I'd made. And then, I had a soft launch in September. And, I invited my church family and friends, and we had the soft launch. And then almost 2 months later, we had a grand opening.
Great. So I was just going to ask you, like, vendors, because I want to ask you, because you're the expert in this, because now I know you're helping people do exactly what you did. And I've talked to many people who are in the beauty supply industry, and we know it's dominated by people that don't look like us. And it's sometimes hard for us to get into the industry because it's hard, like the order minimum quantities from vendors and things of that nature.
Right.
So, but it sounds like, because of where you're located, you had a lot of connections and you were able to get products. But can you speak to what it's like trying to get vendors and, consistently having the high demand products in your store?
Absolutely. So Woo, back then, it was very, very hard to get vendors, right? So my experience like 10 years ago was like, I would call vendors up, and if I didn't speak the native tongue, which was Korean, they would literally just hang up on you. Like, they didn't want to have anything to do with you.
What?
Yeah. I got hung up on, right? That's how it was back then. Things have definitely changed, and the barrier to entry has lowered, especially because of the economic climate that we've been in. A lot of these vendors have been called out for a lot of their racist practices and, shutting out Black entrepreneurs in the industry. So that's a great thing, right? This movement has really changed the barriers to entry. And so the doors are really wide open. So now you can be able to call up vendors. You can tell them where you're located. They'll come out to your store. A lot of them, still have some practices that where, there's these mile radius, so you can't, be by another beauty supply store. But a lot of them now have changed their practices, which is great. And so you can get accounts if your store is not around other beauty supply stores. There's a lot of third-party vendors now that you can get accounts, even if you can't go directly to the vendors, which was my issue at first. So I could not go directly. They weren't able to open any accounts with me. So I literally had to purchase through my mentor. I had to use him for a good percentage of my inventory for quite a while, right? So if you can imagine the profit margin on that, if you have to go through a middle person, right, and you're not going directly to the manufacturer, your margins are going to be squeezed. Another thing that I talk about a lot in my program. So now, as I'm building up, relationships with vendors, which is another part of the business, it's just building those relationships, right? I was able to get accounts. And once I was able to get accounts directly, then I was able to get terms. And so that's really when my business really, really started to pick up, was like 2 to 3 years, actually in business. So, so now I try to like really, fast track people, like go straight directly to them, ask for the terms right away so that you can fast track it, because it took me a while.
So what was it like during those first 3 years?
Very tough, right? So, here in New York City is like literally one of the toughest places to do business, right? So everything that could have happened to me happened to me. I always had employees. So, sometimes you have good employees, sometimes you have bad employees. I operated the business full time, right? So I didn't have a 9 to 5. I operated the business full time. So I was there all the time. All the customers knew who I was. They knew my family. Again, we were a third generation of the community that I opened in. So, it was, good and bad. I love the fact that I was able to be there full time in the beginning, because it gave me the opportunity to really understand this business in and out, right? I love the fact, even though at the time I was like, God, this is so hard. But I truly, truly appreciate the fact that I did open in New York City, where, the cost of living is astronomical, and you really have to be so savvy to make money here in New York City, just because of the cost of living. Because, opening a store down south in Atlanta, the prices is going to be the same as here in New York. So I really had to sit down and figure out, okay, how do I increase my traffic? Because I cannot make money when I have like 10 customers a day. So I literally sat down in those first 3 years, and I figured out all of these different formulas, conversions, like if I do this, then this can increase. So I sat down for those first 3 years. That was the training ground for me. And I figured out different formulas, different like retail strategies to make my business work in New York City, and to make it work for me, because again, I was working there full time. I have to pay myself, I have to pay other people so much. So it was such a blessing now that I'm able to talk about it 12 years later. But at the time it was insane. But this gave me, again, the opportunity to sit down and really focus on the formulas, right? Because that's the key to retail. You have to understand your formulas. You have to understand your numbers, and you need to be able to convert those things.
Now, so when you say formula, was it like figuring out, like, like you say, your numbers and conversions and everything, and well, how to market it, how to get more people into the store? So what were some of the things that you did in order to do that?
So the first thing to get more people into the store, to answer that part, right? Because I was like one of the first Black-owned stores, I knew that, I wanted to tap into a market that the other stores weren't currently tapped into. So I focus on natural hair care products, right? This was way before like Target and Walmart and all these big box retailers were checking for natural hair care products. So that was like my first strategy, is just really being, ears to the ground, understanding like what is the newest trend, like what can I tap into. That was the first thing that helped us really grow really fast. So I connected with a lot of influencers here in New York City. We did pop-up shops, just really out of the box things. Like 10 years ago, no beauty supply store was doing a pop-up shop. They weren't doing events. They weren't doing anything like that, right? You would never see that. I did stuff like that. I wanted to show my customers, again, a good experience. I want you to come in here and have the champagne experience that you have when you go to a Nordstrom or a Saks Fifth Avenue. I wanted you to have the same experience. And so that by itself, my customers came in and they became loyal customers immediately. And so that's what I tell people all the time, where I hear a lot, there's a lot of beauty supply stores in my area. I don't want to go oversaturated, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, if you deliver an experience where people feel good, right? Because we're not just selling products, we're selling confidence, we're selling a feeling that's intangible, right? So if you can be able to do that, they will immediately become loyal customers for you. And I had to figure that out, right? So that was one of the first things I figured out, like, how can I change the experience? How can I make these customers become loyal? How can I increase the retention of my customers? So those are like some of the formulas that I started to figure out, like retention rates, how often someone shops with you. These are all of the things. And if I can multiply that, so instead of you coming to me and shopping with me once a month, how can I get you to come in every 2 weeks, like me, right? I was shopping at the beauty supply store every 2 weeks. So those were some of the things that I really drilled down on very early in the game to help me like rinse and repeat and increase my traffic in my store.
Okay, so when did you see the shift? So now you had a few years in and you've learned how to shift some things. You're doing these events and pop-up shops and things are starting to grow and change. So to kind of take us through that part.
So after the second, third year and people really starting to notice me, and we were getting people from like other boroughs, even other states. We got a lot of people from Jersey to come out and shop with us. I really realized that I had something very special. And that's when I started to think about scaling and growing. So I have an Eye in the Caribbean. And I was like, I think this would be a fabulous idea for us to do a Fabulous Freddy's in Bermuda. So we launched that. I did the website, e-commerce website as well, to just continue to put my name out there. And then collaboration was like number one. And it still is, right, to this day, right? Collaboration is still number one. I think it's just like one of the best strategies to help your business grow. So my main strategy was like, I want to be the first person to get whatever new natural product, whatever the fad is, whatever people are talking about. I want to be the first person to have that in the store. And I want to get the owner to come out. I want to collaborate however we can. To deliver that not only to the customers, but also, when you have a Black-owned brand in your store, you're able to deliver a different type of experience if that person versus that person going to like Target and they don't get any conversation. There's, you don't know about the owner, things of that nature. So that was another part of my strategy, is like, when people come in the store, I'm going to talk to them about these Black-owned brands. I'm going to talk to them about the owner. I'm just going to deliver more, right? I'm just going to deliver more. And so that led me to wanting to open a Brooklyn location. That was like around year 5. We did a crowdfunding campaign. I was able to do a video, send out a link. We raised money for the Brooklyn store. But at this time, I really started to get into the consulting. So a lot of people by this time was like asking me, oh my gosh, like, how do I do this? I want to do exactly what you're doing. But I was still operating my store full time. So obviously I could not really fully commit to like really helping people open their store, because I was still like operating my store full time. I became a mom. I got married, became a mom, and had to make a decision because I had 2 babies and I had the store, and then I was helping other people. It was just like, I got to decide what I want to do. And so at the time, my Queens location, I had already knew I wanted to move to Brooklyn. So I just decided to shut down the Queens location, put my inventory, everything into storage until we were ready to move into Brooklyn, because I had 2 young babies and I was also pregnant. And then I was going to focus on helping other women open their stores 100%, like full time. So that's exactly what I did. And I said I was going to do this for like a year, just help other women. And then I was going to stop and then return to Brooklyn, right? That was my plan. God's plan was different. God was very clear on what he wanted me to do. He was like, absolutely not. I want you to just continue to teach these women what I gave you, the knowledge that I gave you. I want you to give it to other women. And so people just kept coming. Like, it didn't stop. It wasn't like, okay, I taught 5 women and that was it. People just kept coming. And then, so I just kept consulting, and that's when I officially launched the Retail Genius business, in 2017. And, from there, I consulted with hundreds of women. In 2020, my clients generated over 3 million in sales in their own beauty supply stores. So these are women, Black-owned beauty supply stores, 3 million in sales during a pandemic. It was amazing. And that's, that was the whole story. That was the whole journey.
You had an awesome journey, clearly. So was there any hesitation? Like, because I know, you got married, you have children, and you had to stop and slow it down a little bit. And you started consulting, and like you said, your goal was to go back into it, to Brooklyn.
Yeah, I actually never wanted to do consulting at all, right? I was just doing it, as I had time, right? This is as I have time, I could talk to you. As I have time, I could call you back. As I have time, I could respond to a DM, because I'm doing it, because I'm still operating my store full time. And the thing that I tell people, like, divided focus, that I'm here and there, and like it's going to be hard for you to scale your business. And I knew that. So that's why I like sat and had to make a decision. Like, do I just want to like focus on my stores and move in that direction? Or do I want to, help other women and move in that direction? Because I can't do both. I cannot do both. If be fully committed and fully show up. So I actually went back and forth. I continued on with my Brooklyn dream because that was what I wanted. And every step of the way was sabotage. God was like, I'm going to, yes, down to, I'm telling you this quick story. I was at lease signing for the Brooklyn location. Down to lease signing, I got the loan for the location. Everything was perfect down to lease signing, and it blew up in flames. The whole deal blew up in flames. And that's when I knew God was like, I'm not playing with you. Like, you are gonna put this on the side, put this on hold, because I really want you to go and help these women. And I heard it so clear. And so there was hesitation because I still wanted my way, but I eventually went with God's way.
Awesome. So share with us what you do now with Retail Genius and how do you help your clients?
Yes. So now it's, looking back, how I was talking about, I just wanted to do my own thing and focus on my own stores, because I loved it. I love being a retailer. I loved helping women feel confident in the way they look and getting ready for job interviews and things of that nature. I love that. And I never thought I would get any more fulfillment than operating my own stores. Now, the fulfillment I get is being present at grand openings, seeing other women realize the dream. Like, it just fills my heart so much to just be, I call myself the beauty supply midwife, because it's like, I'm watching you give birth to this baby, and I'm a witness to it, and I get to help you through it and hold your hand through the entire process. I get so much fulfillment out of that. And so I do that full time. I absolutely love it. Women come to me and they're like, I have this vision, I have this dream. And I'm like, let's do it. Let's go. Like, let's get the store open. Let's find the funding. Let's find the inventory. What kind of store do you want? I love going through that entire process over and over and over again to help women realize their dream. I've seen women, quit their jobs in 6 months to go and pursue this full time. And so just being a witness to all of it is just like, it's everything for me.
Now, what are some of the steps you take them through? Tell us how the program works, because I know you have like a few programs and you take them through. So kind of like break that down for us a little bit.
We offer two different programs. So we have a amazing boot camp program, which is my group coaching program, where I teach Black women in a collective all the steps to open a store A to Z. And then we have a one-on-one program for people who are kind of busy and like kind of hands off and just like, I want you to go ahead and just do all this work for me, Janice, because I don't got the time. So we have a one-on-one program as well. But my signature bootcamp program is the program that is just amazing. We have a team of coaches now. Shout out to my team of coaches, Coach Sherelle, Coach Carlos, who help us train these women up to be expert beauty retailers. And so we take them, it's a year-long journey, and we take them from all of the business licenses and things of that nature, all the way to scaling and growing your store. So once you're already in business, like, how do we take this up? What do we need to pour gasoline on? Same thing I was trying to figure out when I was in my store in New York. Like, how do I take this to the next level? We take them through that entire process in 12 months.
Awesome. Now, since you've worked with so many people who are interested in getting into the industry, share, like, what do you think some of the biggest misconceptions are when they first come to you?
That the market is oversaturated. That's a big one, right? It's not oversaturated. This is like having, gas stations in a community, right? There's enough for everybody, right? There's enough for everybody to eat and to be profitable in this business. So it's not oversaturated. That it's going to take this astronomical number in funding to get started, right? Like, a lot of people like, I don't have enough money, but do you know how much money you need? Because I know I started with less than 20,000, right, for my store. And I just really drilled down and made it work with a very, very limited budget, right? So, there's certain ways to open smaller and grow, right? That's possible. So a lot of people think they don't have enough money. So I feel like those are the two biggest things, like the market being oversaturated and, I don't have enough money to open my own store.
Yeah, I could see that as well, because oftentimes people don't start things because they think, there's a quote that I love, and it says, the creation is never bigger than the creator. And so sometimes I think maybe with someone thinks of opening a beauty supply, right? They're like, oh my God, it's going to cost so much money. It's a beauty supply everywhere. How am I going to, make a difference in this industry? How am I going to stand out at my little store over here? And I think what they're doing is they're making it bigger than them.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And it is a scary thing, open a physical location. Is not like an online business where it's like, you can put up a website, take it down. And so I do understand the element of fear in starting. I also had that. And that's why, it's so important to literally have someone that can hold your hand through the process and have a mentor that could guide you, because the startup cost is pretty heavy in the front, right? So you're always going to have costs, of course, in your retail business, but the startup cost is pretty heavy in the front. So you do want to make sure that you're really strategic about how you spend those funds in the beginning.
Yes. So through your program, you help them get like their licenses and all the paperwork ready. Yeah. And so tell us some of the things like the funding and all of that, or vendors. Is that something you help them with as well? And like, if you can share like some examples or something, for sure, that would be great.
So, going back to like one of the biggest obstacles or mindset hurdles for people is like getting the vendors, funding, understanding the business licenses. So those things like we conquer like in the very beginning stages in the program. So within the program, like we literally list out all of like the funding resources that a lot of our clients were successful in, myself and the coaches including. We talk a lot about vendors, vendor relationships. I literally have a script in my program of like literally what to say word for word when you're calling vendors, so that they can take you seriously and you can get accounts open for your store. So we go through all of that. I also have like a list of vendors that I have relationships with for the past 10 years. So I'm like, here, this is the number to this person, they know me very well and they know that you're coming through this program. So, they have a better chance of getting accounts if you kind of go through someone, if they know that you're getting some type of formal education, so that, you can come correct with a lot of these vendors, because they are really, really like, I don't have time to teach you. I don't have time to show you. So that's where I come in. I teach you all these things. I teach you how to order stuff, quantities, things of that nature. We go through all of that in the program.
Great. Well, thanks for sharing that. So tell us, like, what has been the biggest lesson you've learned so far on your entrepreneurial journey?
I would say the biggest lesson is mindset, right? Because this entrepreneurial journey, there's a lot of ups and downs. And if you don't have like the right mindset, I say like mindset is probably like 99% business, right? And the strategy is like 1%. And so it's just mindset, just going through all the obstacles, just making sure that you're plugged into the right outlets, you're watching the right things, you have the right mentors around you, you have the right community around you, because that could change everything for you, right? So as long as you have a strong mindset, you will be successful in whatever you do, whatever you decide to do. If it's beauty supply, beauty salon, whatever, mindset is so, so important.
Can you give some examples of how you can work on your mindset?
Oh, yes. I work on my mindset daily. So I start with like podcasts like this, audio books, self-help books, investing in yourself. I invest in my personal development, masterminds, courses, just being plugged in and being sharp, right? Because, social media will have you thinking everybody's successful, everyone's a millionaire. But really being plugged in, community is so important to me as well. Like I mentioned, I'm in a few different masterminds, where I can constantly be around the right mindset, people who are like-minded, right? Because, a lot of us, we don't come from families of entrepreneurs, so they don't really get it. If I went to private school, it was really expensive for my parents. So when I talk about, wanting to open a store, they're like, wait, you want to do what? No, girl, you're gonna go and use this degree and work in corporate America, right? So yeah, so surrounding yourself around like-minded individuals who understand and get you. Because for me as a young entrepreneur, I started at 23 when I opened my first store. I listened to my parents, and when things got tough, and my mom would suggest, well, maybe you should just close the store and just go back to working that good job you had, and I was young. And so I was like, man, maybe I should. But then I would plug into my mentor, who was just like, keep going, right? Keep going. So that 2 years turned into 3, and then 3 years turned into 4 and 5 and 6. And I look up, and we were open for over 8 years, right? And so, that is what is so important. It's just like, again, plugging into the right people, sharpening your mind every single day, reading, learning your industry. That's exactly what I did. I read retail books. I went to retail seminars. Those things are so important for your mindset.
I absolutely agree with that, and then I love that you had a mentor even at that young age, because
right.
I know as an entrepreneur, there's going to be a point where you feel like quitting. Like we all go through that, right? And sometimes some people do quit because they just don't have the support system or a
right.
mentor or a coach or someone to tell them, let's just keep going.
Right.
It's not as bad as it seems. You're almost there. Just keep going. They don't have anyone like that, or they don't see. Like, I love that you're at masterminds, because I've done masterminds before too. They don't see other successful people that look like them,
right.
or they're not having conversations with people that are doing what they're doing. So it can be a lonely road as well. Yeah. So it's really, important to have like you said, a community, mentors, and working on your mindset. So I love that. I love that. So where are some of your favorite places to go for motivation?
So for me, my favorite book is the Bible. I love the book of Proverbs. It's the book of wisdom. So that's like my main source. Is definitely the Bible and the book of Proverbs. That's number one. The probably the second place, I love podcasts. One of my favorite podcasts is by my leak. I listen to her podcast. I'm a minister's daughter, so I love all things ministry, all things church. I love TD Jakes. He's one of my favorite podcasts. And so I go to him for a lot of motivation as well. And then the masterminds that I'm in, right? So it's not just business in these masterminds. It's a community of people who are like-minded. So, I get a lot of motivations just straight from there, to be honest with you.
Great. So you have so many great things going on. You have the Retail Genius. What are you excited about right now? Is there anything in the mix or coming up?
Yes. So we have taken our bootcamp program on the road. So now we have a 2-day conference. And so we are going to actually be in Atlanta, March 11th and 12th. So we have 2-day conference. We actually launched this last year as a tour. So we went to Atlanta, Dallas, and New York City with our tour, and we, met people, and we're able to teach in person. And it's such a awesome, dynamic, impactful weekend for entrepreneurs who are looking into anything beauty, right? So we have vendors come out. We have our coaches come out as well, just kind of teach you how to start your own beauty supply business. So again, we're going to be in Atlanta, Georgia, March 11th and March 12th. Tickets for that is the beauty supply bootcamp weekend.com if anyone's interested. But yeah, that's what we have going on. I'm so excited about that.
Awesome. I'll make sure that I have all of the links in the show notes as well. So what advice would you give someone that has been procrastinating or allowing fear to stop them from starting their own beauty supply, and this is something that they really want to do? Like, what advice would you give that person?
Just realize tomorrow's not promised to you. That's number one. To procrastinate is to assume that tomorrow's promised to you and it's not, right? So don't put the dream off, right? Because you're going to look, and it's going to be 2-3 years later and you're going to be like, man, I wish I opened the store a year ago, 2 years ago. And there's going to be another entrepreneur open the store in the community. I hear that a lot. I wanted to be the first Black owned in my community and someone else opened. So don't push it off. Just go for it. Just again, find a mentor, find a coach that can help you and just go for it. Do it, get it done.
Awesome. Well, it's been absolutely great speaking with you today, Janice, and having you on the show. Can you share with everybody how they could connect with you and reach you and everything?
Yes. So you guys can follow me on Instagram. It's at The Retail Genius on Instagram. And we also have a amazing mentorship group on Facebook. It's called the Black Beauty Supply Power Circle group. I go live in there, lots of gyms, lots of trainings in there for free. So you can join that group as well.
Awesome. Janice Frederick Spell, everybody. As always, stay great, and we are out. Bye.
Thank you.